All right, so Corinne, let's say I'm investing in my retirement through my employer, and I chose, like in my case, like a target date fund that we talked about in another video. Do I need to like check in on that periodically, or does it just do its thing and I can just like have it automated? I don't need to know what's happening, just let it do its thing.
Katie, I have seen instances of people who are doing all the right things. They're putting money into their retirement account every single month, usually directly from their paycheck. And then they'll go in and look at it, several years down the road, and they'll realize that it's totally off balance. And that's why we say that it's really important to rebalance your accounts. And that just simply means snapping things back into the different pots, the different types of investments on a regular basis. Because when you think about it, if you're investing money every single paycheck, let's say, directly into a retirement account, and you have 70% of it going to stock and 30% going to bonds, if one of those types of investments starts doing really well, let's say stocks start to perform really well, they're going to take up a bigger percentage. Now they might be 80% and bonds are down at 20. And that's going to throw off that original, allocation, how you set up that money in the first place. And when you had set it up, it was probably because of a specific goal, like retirement. So we need to go back in and shift them into place. So that's called rebalancing. And it's easier than it sounds. Maybe you can do it really simply by checking in on your accounts at least once a year, sometimes even quarterly. And if you notice that they're off balance, you can then readjust the way that the money is placed inside the account. Basically, just shifting, in that case, that extra 10% that we had in stocks back over to bonds. You could also do it whenever things change by a certain percentage amount. So this would mean, that you're monitoring your account regularly, monthly, quarterly, and if you see that it's shifted by 5%, 10%, it's not in those original percentages that you had set up initially, then that's when you would go back in and change them. So either on the calendar or by a percentage or a combination of both. Do it at least once a year, quarterly, or whenever it changes by a certain percentage.
So if I don't know, like if I just set, like in my case, a target date fund, I don't actually know what those original percentages would have been. So how is there like a kind of guidance of how things should be split, or like how would I know if mine is off balance or not?
I'm so glad that you mentioned target date funds, because one of the best features about target date funds is that you don't have to do this. You don't have to rebalance, because those funds do the rebalancing on their own. And we have a whole separate video on how target date funds work, so you can better understand that. But if you are using a target date fund and only a target date fund, then you don't have to worry about doing this. If you are using a target date fund, then you also have a mix of some other things inside your 401k, for example, then you would still need to rebalance.
Okay. I'm also wondering, like, are there times within, I know the stock market kind of goes through ups and downs. Are there times in either these really high periods or really low periods where you might want to think about rebalancing? Like, let's say the stock market like tanks for a while. Is that a good time to like make some adjustments, or just leave it as is?
So we have a whole separate video that talks about what to do in market downturns or when the market is performing really well. But I think in general, we need to get comfortable with the fact that the market is going to go up and down probably more frequently than we're comfortable with. And in those times, we generally want to just stay the course of our original plan. So as long as your money doesn't change too much to the point where now you're going to be taking on a lot more risk and those percentages are all off balance, then we probably just want to stay the course. The additional risk that you get by selling during a downturn, for example, is that you are not going to make that money back. Like you lost that money and selling at that point, the damage may already be done. So sometimes it's best just to hang on tight. Another thing to consider too when it comes to rebalancing is that you can rebalance moving forward. So, what that means is instead of going into your account and shuffling things around with the existing money that's in there, you can say, okay, I have more money in stock right now than I originally intended. I want to shift things back over to bonds. The money that you continue to put into your account from that point forward, more of it can go to bonds than stock. And over time, that'll shift things back into that position that you had originally wanted. So you can do it that way too, just on an ongoing basis, right from your paycheck or right from the money that you're sending into that account.
All right, my last question is it seems like if maybe you're someone who doesn't quite get like how all this rebalancing works and you want to make sure that things are where they should be, this might be like a good place to maybe check in with like a financial planner or someone like maybe just once a year or something to just have them look and be like, yeah, you're good, or like let's do this rebalancing. Is that right?
So, if all of this sounds a little daunting, if you're not sure how to rebalance or even what you should rebalance to, then that's something that a financial planner can certainly help you with. That's maybe something you can consider reaching out to us for, once a year, just to look at your investments overall. And one of the things that you could talk about is it time to rebalance? And if so, how?